House, where the press gaggles, they call them, happen. Stephen Miller spoke there moments ago. We played that at the top of the broadcast. So just in case we see anybody step to the mic, we'll go to that live as well. All right, so number 9 out of 20, it ends taxpayer-funded sex change for minors. It reverses the Biden-era mandate that Medicaid cover the so-called gender transition procedures for minors. Number 10, it provides historic tax relief to Social Security recipients. It slashes taxes on seniors' Social Security benefits. All right, so we can continue on with that list.
All right, guys, we're running a little late here. Trump should be here any second.
Scheduled time
supposed
for the
to be
press
1:30,
conference
but he's a
about
little
20
late.
minutes ago.
So he's going to be right here
right.
to your my right, your left.
Most of the time.
Just waiting for him to show up.
But we look
a little
forward
speech
to
about Elon leaving.
The entire
going back to
speech by
SpaceX,
President Trump on the next live
Twitter,
program
Tesla,
here
all the
on
other
Right
stuff.
Side Broadcasting.
He's
Network.
not
of course, it's an RSBN
leaving the cabinet,
right
the
here,
whole
right now,
administration per se. He'll still be an advisor.
All right, so it'll give Americans
originally, when he signed up for DOGE, it was only 130 days, I believe, it was supposed to happen.
If the bill doesn't pass, Americans
so those
will
days
see the
are up,
largest
and
tax increase in
like
history.
I said, leaving DOGE, but still going to be
modernizes
around
air
there. If somebody else
traffic
running
control.
he is going to go off and do his other
taxpayer-funded
things and still be an
Green New
advisor
scam.
to Trump.
It will incentivize
So if you see stories
made
about
in
them,
America. It will reward companies
Trump
that
and him
build their
fighting, and
products
he's
in
leaving
America
because
with
they're in a
lower
fight, blah, 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 blah.
taxes,
It's not
AKA
true.
What's happening now,
When he first signed up for this whole DOGE thing, it was only supposed to be
joining with
130
Nippon
days
Steel
because he's a
keeping
government
US
employee.
Steel in this country,
And then he's leaving.
actually
So
expanding
he'll
from
still
here
be
now,
around as an
because
advisor
of
to
these deals
Trump,
that are happening,
but he won't
thanks to
be
President Trump. As
running
we are about
DOGE.
10 minutes from the top of the hour,
So
2 o'clock Eastern time.
Hopefully Trump
getting there slowly
comes
as we
in
await
soon.
the president and Elon Musk. In the meantime, if there are any other videos, director, that we have that we can go to, that'd be great at this point. All right, so they're going to scrounge something up for us so we can throw to it as we await the president of the United States and Elon Musk. I'll continue on with some more of the extension of coverage here as number 15. It is pro-family. The One Big Beautiful Bill increases the child tax credit, establishes MAGA accounts for newborns to start saving, and strengthens paid family leave. It would also repeal Democrats' insane attack on the gig economy. It repeals the requirement that Venmo, PayPal, and other gig transactions over $600 be reported to the IRS. It will also protect family farmers, and it's a once-in-a-generation chance to revolutionize our nation's defense capabilities and protect the homeland against new threats. It funds President Trump's Golden Dome, invests in American
like I said, Trump should hopefully be out any second now to get the press conference.
And then it will
He's also holding a
American
rally tonight.
Dominance.
I think it's 6 or 5:30 in Pittsburgh, so I'm going to stream that too as well.
Reasons why the Senate should pass the big beautiful bill and get that thing moving along to President Trump's desk, as we're 9 minutes from the top of the hour. Let's do a quick check of some Truth Social posts right now. It looks like on our Truth Social, we're seeing, of course, the RSBN doubleheader, President Trump and Elon Musk to hold the press conference any minute from now. And then we'll have the Trump rally, of course, later in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Other articles that we see on Right Side right now, Trump's economic report signals income gains and fiscal shifts. We also see that the president will honor Elon Musk in a farewell press conference. All right, so we have an interesting video, according to the producer right now, that we have of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, in Singapore, and they're telling me that he's working out. So let's go to that video.
And so I also pass a message for the president every time he wants me to let all of you know that from the Oval Office, from the White House, he has your back.
There you go. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, I think I got stronger watching that thing. Jeez. I'll tell you, you know, it's kind of like that when we stretch here a little bit too. When the broadcast is supposed to stop at 1:30 and go to the White House there, I feel like
here comes somebody.
the mind is doing some calisthenics as we continue to stretch here for President Trump and Elon Musk. But great to see Pete Hegseth out there in Singapore working out with the military. And it's another thing that we see when it comes to our cabinet members. I mean, these are people that actually go to where the actual workers are working and doing great things, or the military, or in the case of Kristi Noem with Department of Homeland Security. You know, we see, again, how about President Trump going to Pittsburgh today to meet with we the people, to meet with these steel workers in Pennsylvania. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be had today in Pittsburgh. And you saw some of the military there, you know, maybe doing some stretches and that kind of stuff. Well, that's what we're doing here, stretching, waiting for our great president and Elon Musk. Trust me, it's going to be worth the wait, especially when it's President Trump and Elon Musk at the Oval Office. So looking forward to it. And again, a shout out to all of you guys watching from around the country and all of you loyal viewers since 2015 here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All of the rallies and speeches and great moments and all the chants of USA and we love you and build the wall, and there's a few other chants. Maybe we won't go on all of them, but thank you so much for streaming in here. And today, again, Rally Day in America in Pittsburgh. So we're getting ready for that. That'll be, again, after this broadcast. We'll start a new stream up. And
looks like
RSBN host Megan Kohler will
maybe
be
starting to get ready to set it up
and talking to us about some of the things that she sees out there in Pittsburgh, and also interviewing we the people. So look forward
maybe as
to
the
that.
press getting ready to set up.
Let's go to President Trump now.
Oh, here we go. Boom. He's got a shirt on that says the Doge father.
He didn't need this.
We have no audio.
And we find out government's a little nasty on occasion.
Probably takes a couple seconds to get that going.
Government's a little bit nasty, Peter. You haven't noticed that. You've had a charmed life, right?
You tell me.
Very charmed. I think you've had a charmed life. I think what I'll do, if you don't mind,
Now,
numbers have just come out which are rather extraordinary, and I thought I'd play a tape of one of the people who I've respected over the years.
This is awkward.
From, Joe Kiernan and Rick Santelli. This just came out, and we'll just play that for a second.
Personal income is up 0.8%. That is almost triple the expectations. And I'll tell you that the income,
is it their fee?
The income numbers, really, for the first 4 months of the year, they're stellar. Really very strong numbers, and you're right. This administration is criticized for just about everything under the sun. I've never, ever in my lifetime had glimpses into the politics of an administration in the form of transparency like this one. Why don't we be, give credit where credit is due. Income really shooting up.
Rick, I also thought everybody was going to get one last order of imports that were going to be tariffed, and they were loading up on things. How the hell did they already fix the trade, or not fix it, but to cut it in half? That's crazy. So there wasn't a lot of front loading of things that they needed before the tariffs hit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it really does call into question some of the conventional wisdoms. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next month when we get this number, or we see some of the other numbers like current accounts, see how they fared. Because I don't know, I've been watching these numbers a long time. I don't think I've ever seen the trade deficit cut in half in 1 month.
Not bad. All right, not bad.
Come on, guys.
I see Howard and Scott are here, so it's great. You guys want to stand over here? You might as well. You're the ones that help produce those numbers, and it'll only get better. The tariffs are so important, and that's why we were so happy with the decision yesterday where the tariffs continue, because without the tariffs, our nation would be imperiled. We would really be imperiled. I think I can say that with great surety, Scott and Howard. And so we were very happy to get that decision, that big decision yesterday. And today it's about a man named Elon, and he's one of the greatest business leaders and innovators the world has ever produced. He stepped forward to put his very great talents into the service of our nation, and we appreciate it. And just want to say that Elon has worked tirelessly
It's
helping
coming onto my
lead
headphones.
the most
All right.
sweeping and consequential government reform program in generations. And you know the kinds of things that he's found and his people have found. He's brought a group
Sweet,
of
it's
very
coming out
smart
of this
people in, and they
very
found
low,
things
but
that are
on this
pretty
side you can hear it
unbelievable. I have to say that the numbers that we're talking about are substantial, but they're going to be very much more substantial with time, because many of the things that we're working on right now,
Don't know the
we'll
DOGE
have to
cuts.
remember Elon as we find them, but the numbers could double and triple because many things
Well,
we
it's
don't want to
gonna
go
drive
out
me
with them
nuts.
until we're sure, but we've found things that are unbelievably stupid and unbelievably bad with the Department of
Yeah, they
Government
just basically
Efficiency.
wasted all of our
Elon's
money on
delivered
their
a colossal
scams.
change in the old ways of doing business in Washington. DOGE has installed geniuses with an engineering mindset and unbelievably talented people in computers. I actually asked Elon one time, what's their primary thing? And they have a lot of primary things, all having to do with being smart. But he said the thing that they're really the best at is working with computers, so that they can't be outsmarted by somebody that's not so honest, that happens to also be good with computers, but not as good as these people. But the mindset in the senior ranks of every federal department, and it's really changed. And with Elon's guidance, they're helping to detect fraud/waste and modernize
I'm gonna check
broken and
the audio real
outdated
quick. Give me
systems.
1 second.
So as you know, we're talking about various systems and changing systems, and sadly, it takes a long time to do that. You'll change, let's say, a system at IRS and computerize it properly, where the job can be done in 1/10 the time, but it takes sometimes years to rebuild those systems. But we've started, in many cases, I will say that this has less to do with Elon, but the air traffic control systems, we're bidding out to the best companies in the world, those systems right now. They were what the previous administration was horrible what they did. They spent billions and billions of dollars.
They just wasted
and in
a
the
ton
end,
of money.
It didn't even come close to working. They tried to
The
hook
former
up wire to
administration
copper, and it can't be
wasted
done.
so much money.
And they just spent billions of dollars and just wasted money. Actually made the system much worse.
Yeah,
So
they
we're
did.
going to get a brand new modern system. Congress is working with us on that, and we're going to get it done as quickly as we can. But it's in the works, and once it's done, it'll be good for 30 years. But we have a system that's 48 years old and would have a modern computer hooked into a very outdated computer, and they don't hook up. I mean, they didn't hook up. So after spending billions of dollars, they turned on the system, and in never any cases, from local to countrywide, they never worked. More than 75,000 bureaucrats have voluntarily left their taxpayer-funded jobs to come out and really do the job. Countless wasteful and unnecessary contracts have been terminated, and you know that we have terminated many contracts, and many contracts, Elon, are right now being looked at, and it may be 6 months, it may be almost a year in some cases. We're going through procedures, we're going through courts, and we'll remember you as we announce billions of dollars of extra waste, fraud, and abuse. Just as an example, DOGE canceled $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, $101 million, and that was just in a small section of the Department of Education. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City, and the landlord never made the kind of money that he made in the last short
It was all
period of
scams.
time. $59 million to a hotel in New York City, $45 million for diversity,
In my opinion, the
equity,
climate
and inclusion
change, the
scholarships
DEI,
in
it's
Burma.
all
In Burma.
scams. So they'll get
Does
like,
anyone know about
it's
Burma?
like $5 million for
$42
DEI
million
programs to some
for
school.
social and behavioral
Probably like $1
change
million
in
goes to that. The rest goes
Uganda.
right back into their pockets. All
$40
the
million to
Democrats
improve
who
the
help
social
pass
and
the,
economic
get
inclusion
that
of
stuff through.
sedentary migrants. I can say it's $2 billion to Stacey Abrams and her environmental movement. There was $100 in
Yeah, her
the
whole
account,
thing was
and
she had an,
all of a sudden they found $2 billion in the account.
yeah, she had like
And I
$100
assume that's being looked at. I
donation.
don't
Next thing you know,
know.
she got
I'm
$2
not
billion.
sure. I assume that's being looked at. Think of that, $2 billion.
Crooks all
And
over.
then Lee will tell you there's another one over there for $20 billion being spent on another environmental question. $20 billion, not 20 million, a lot, not 200,000, which is a lot.
Billion.
So think of it, in her case, you have $100, and now all of a sudden she gets hit with an infusion of $2 billion just before I take office. $20 million for Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. Nobody knows what that's all about. Nobody's been able to find it. $8 million for making mice transgender.
Yeah,
so
what
they spend
the fuck?
$8 million on
This is our
making
money they're
mice
doing it with. We got to realize that.
transgender.
Your money,
and those
my
are
money.
better than many of the others. I could sit here all day and
Oh, you're
read
slaving away
things
for,
just like
80,
that, but
60, 80
we have
hours a
other
week,
things to
and the
do.
government's
So
taking
it's
half your money.
More than just
This
that.
is what they're
We're
spending
totally
it on.
committed to making the DOGE cuts permanent and stopping much more of the waste in the months to come. We want to get
We need the
our
GOP
great
to
big, beautiful
codify these
bill
cuts.
finished and done. After that, we're going to be, we put some of this into the bill, but most of it's going to come later. We're going to have it
There we go. Now the audio's better.
cauterized by Congress, affirmed by Congress. In some cases, we'll make cuts. In some cases, we'll just use it in a different layer to save the money. But it's hundreds of billions of dollars. DOGE has also fully modernized the federal retirement process and continues to work very hard on the IRS modernization. But we're taking that over with DOGE.
They used to keep the
Many of
retirement
DOGE people,
forms for,
Elon,
I
are
don't know if it
staying
was government
behind,
workers
so
or
they're
what,
not
but
leaving.
they used to keep the whole retirement
and Elon's really not
paperwork
leaving. He's
in a
gonna be
fucking
back and
mine.
forth, I think. I have a feeling. It's
That's why
his
so many
baby,
people
and
could
I think
retire a
he's
year, a
gonna
certain
be
amount,
doing
'cause they had to
a
go
lot of
into an
things. But
actual
Elon's
mine
service to
and find the
America has been
paperwork.
without comparison in modern history. He's already running one of the most innovative car companies in the world. You look at his factories and compare them with some of the old factories we have, and it's a big difference. And the most successful space company, and I guess in history you would have to say the largest free speech platform on the internet, etc.
True, too.
Yet Elon willingly, with all of the success,
Elon
he
might be working
willingly
with
accepted
Asmongold
the
to really
outrageous abuse and slander and lies and attacks.
get X
because
up and going as a
he
streaming
does love our
platform.
country. I know that
And maybe
very
a main
much. He
competitor
loves
to
our,
Twitch,
our country.
which
Comes
just
from another
doing terrible
country,
lately.
country that's going through trials and tribulations, I would say. But he's all about the USA, and Americans owe him a great debt of gratitude. So I just want to thank Elon for his time as a special government employee. Can you imagine? They call him an employee, but it's a special government employee, and for coming and helping us. And he really has
He ain't
changed
going
the
nowhere,
mindset
like I
of
said,
a lot
still
of
being
people.
an
A lot of
advisor.
people thought, maybe we'll cut 1% or 2% or 3%. Then they said, wow, we can cut a lot more than that. And we're going to do it very surgically. We're going to continue on the march. We're making America great again. When I was in Saudi Arabia, and we were in, as you know, 3 really great countries, predominantly the 3.
A lot of investments from them.
Qatar was great. UAE was great. Saudi Arabia, incredible. Such an incredible experience to be in those 3 countries. But the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and I must tell you, the great leaders of the other 2 that we just mentioned, they all said the same thing, that the United States is the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. And 6 months ago, we thought it was dead. It was like a dead country.
Yeah, it was.
And it would have been a dead country if we didn't have the right result on November 5th. There would have been a horrible, horrible situation going on with the borders, with transgender for everyone, men playing in women's sports, and so much more. But they were saying the hottest country anywhere in the world. And then I played that little clip because I was one person who's respected, or 2 people, because Joe was in that one too. Joe's a good man. But that was one group of people saying something about the success of what we've done over the last 4 months. They cannot believe it. In the one case, they said they've never seen anything like it as long as they've been doing what they've been doing. They've been doing it for a long time. So I want to thank Elon for helping. And again, the United States right now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country as hot.
A lot of investments
and we're
coming.
doing really well. We came, when I left, we had no wars, we had no problems. We defeated ISIS, we rebuilt our military, and we had no inflation. And when I came back, we had a lot of inflation. We had wars all
Record
over the
highs of
place.
inflation.
We had the embarrassment in Afghanistan where we gave up billions and billions of dollars of military equipment, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, I believe that strongly. We have Russia with Ukraine. We had the attack on Israel in October, the horrible attack, October 7th. Horrible, horrible attack. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And now we have something where we're really healing a lot of that. We stopped India and Pakistan from fighting. I believe that could have turned out into a nuclear disaster. And I want to thank the leaders of India, the leaders of Pakistan, and I want to thank my people also. We talked trade. And we said we can't trade with people that are shooting at each other and potentially using nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And they're great leaders in those countries, and they understood, and they agreed. And that all stopped, and we're stopping others from fighting also, because ultimately we can fight better than anybody. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest leaders in the world. We put one of them in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as you know, General Raisin Kane. And we wiped out ISIS, completely wiped out ISIS in 3 weeks. They said it would take 5 years, and we did it in 3 weeks.
Just bombed the shit out of them.
And that's the way it is, but we don't want to have to use our military. We want to be peace through strength when we can, and that's the way we're going to have it. So I just want to thank Elon and all of his people. Most of those people are staying. Almost all of them are staying, and they're going to be with us. And you're going to see the results.
DOGE doesn't go anywhere. It's still
long
going to be
into
there.
the future.
Elon's
Even
just
a
a
year
party.
and 2 years later,
They
you're
go
going to
back
see a
to
lot
what,
of the results.
20
and
million
those
businesses.
Hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be adding
He's
up,
still an
and they're going to
advisor, so he's
continue
really
to
not
add.
going
It'll be
anywhere.
interesting. It's really interesting to see what the final number is going to be. But again, Elon gave an incredible service. Nobody like him, and he had to go through the slings and the arrows, which is a shame because he's an incredible patriot. The good news is that 90% of the country knows that, and they appreciate it, and they really appreciate what he did. And I gave him a little special something we have here.
Thank you.
A very special,
Oh, wow.
that I give to very special people. I have given it to some, but it goes to very special people, and I thought I'd give it to Elon as a presentation
shit.
from our country.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Wow.
See the lock. The lock on this is amazing.
That's right. Large lot.
Well, let me say perhaps a few words. That this is not the end of DOGE, but really the beginning.
Yes.
My time
He
as
just got
a
it up and
special
going.
employee necessarily
It's
had
just
to end.
getting
It was
started.
a limited time thing. It's 134 days, I believe, which ends in a few days. So, so that it comes with a time limit. But the DOGE team will only grow stronger over time. The DOGE influence will only grow stronger. It's I liken it to sort of Buddhism. It's like a way of life. So it is permeating throughout the government, and I'm confident that over time we'll see $1 trillion of savings and a reduction in $1 trillion of waste and fraud reduction. The calculations of the DOGE team thus far, in terms of an FY25 to FY26 delta, are over 160 billion, and that's climbing. We expect that number will probably go over 200 billion soon. So I think the DOGE team is doing an incredible job. They're going to continue doing an incredible job, and I'll continue to be visiting here and be a friend and advisor to the president.
Yeah, like I said,
look
he's not
forward
going
to,
anywhere.
Times being back in this amazing room. By the way, isn't this incredible? Look at this incredible. It's stunning. I think.
Yeah.
The way that the Oval Office, how the president has just completely redone the Oval Office. It's beautiful. I love the gold on the ceiling.
Thank you. It's pretty nice.
Trump loves gold.
That's been there a long time. That was plaster. Nobody ever really saw it. They didn't know the eagle was up there, and we highlighted. It's essentially it's a landmark, a great landmark, and that's 24 karat gold, and everybody loved it. And now they all see it when they come in. So it's been good.
The Oval Office finally has the majesty that it deserves, thanks to the president. So I look forward to continuing to be a friend and advisor to the president, continuing to support the DOGE team, and we are relentlessly pursuing $8 trillion in waste and fraud reductions, which will benefit
They'll get
the
there.
American taxpayer.
I doubt my mind they won't get there.
That's it, really. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Have any questions?
Thank you, President Trump.
There we go.
The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at DOGE. There's
Oh,
this,
yeah.
Some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room were the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate?
Yes.
Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer counter.
It is.
But so I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times. Let's move on.
Okay. Then next question. I got one for President Trump.
Not like
President Trump, Biden aides who used to work here are in talks with Republicans in Congress to go and testify about what they did or didn't do to possibly conceal President Biden's decline.
The auto pen.
Do you think that Dr. Jill Biden should also have to come in and testify about what she did or didn't do?
Well, I hate the concept
Yes.
of it. It's the wife of
It's sad, but yes,
a man
she was part of
who
it.
was going through a lot of problems, and everybody that dealt with him understood that. And I guess it came out during the debate loud and clear. That was that was the biggest signal of all. They have to do what's right.
Signs way before that.
The country was.
Anybody would have a
lot of
brain knew this dude
dishonesty
back when he was
with the
running
election,
was
as you know,
completely
2020.
incompetent.
That's been now caught. People understand it was a rigged election. And when you go further out, when you see the auto pen, I mean, I think the auto pen is going to become one of the great scandals of all time.
He can
because
control
you
the
have
auto pen,
somebody
control the White
operating
House.
it, or a number of people operating. Because I knew Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't in favor of opening up borders, letting 21 million people into this from prisons and mental institutions and gang members. He wasn't into that at all. And you know who signed these orders, proclamations, and all of the different things that he signed that set our country so far back, that was so bad for our country.
With the auto pen, how would it work? Like, we're in the Oval Office right now. If there was a group of rogue staffers that worked for you who wanted to advance a bill or an executive order without your knowledge, how could they do it? How do they go
Well, it's very
behind
hard
the
because
president's back?
I'd read your newspapers or your media the next day, and I'd say, "Well, I didn't approve that," and I would find it. I mean, they wouldn't get
Yeah, he
away
even
with
know
it
half
for
the shit
long
he signed,
because
he
I
signed.
never signed that. Who the hell signed that? Auto pens, to me, are used to sign letters to people because we get, I think they said 20,000 letters a week, and you like to be able, when somebody takes the time to write a letter, it's nice to sort of write back. And auto pens are meant for that. Auto pens are not meant to sign major proclamations or tax cuts or borders, anything having to do with the border, which is so important. And if it happened on my watch, I would be able to see it because the next day or sooner I'd be reading
Yeah,
about
but what's the process?
something that I knew
You take
nothing
it to the
about.
machine,
And who the hell
some
signed
kind of
this?
bill or something,
So
or
I almost never use the
get an
auto
order
pen.
and
In fact,
put it in there and have them sign
yesterday I
it?
was signing about 81, I think it was 81 proclamations and statements to people that I think should be signed by us. I think when you write letters to foreign dignitaries or presidents or prime ministers, you should
Sign
be
them
signing
yourself.
those letters, not done with auto pens. I understand he signed almost everything with an auto pen. It's a very dangerous thing. It really means you're not president. Whoever operated the auto pen, and we think we know who that is, and it was actually more than one person. But that's not what the presidency is all about. I hardly use the
Mr. President, are you going to reinstate the tariffs on China? You said that they violated the agreement with the U.S.
Well, they did. They violated a big part of the agreement we made. You know, if you read that whole statement, I was very nice to them. I helped them because they were in trouble with the stoppage of a massive amount of business. But I'm sure that I'll speak to President Xi and hopefully we'll work that out. But yeah, there's a violation of the agreement. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you give us an update to the latest ceasefire agreement that Israel has agreed to, but Hamas still considering?
Well, they're very close to an agreement on Gaza, and we'll let you know about it during the day or maybe tomorrow, and we have a chance of that. And I think we have a chance of making a deal with Iran also. They don't want to be blown up. They would rather make a deal, and I think that could happen in the not-too-distant future. That would be a great thing if we could have a deal without bombs being dropped all over the Middle East. That would be a very good thing. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We want them to be safe. We want them to have a very, very successful nation. Let it be a great nation, but we can't have that. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. And I think we're fairly close to a deal with Iran.
Mr. Musk, question for Elon.
Yeah, please.
You said just now that you look forward to being a friend and advisor to the president. So do you
Well, I am.
expect to continue
Oh, yes.
advising the president and DOGE informally, or are you going to sort of shift your focus entirely to your companies?
Both.
Well, I expect
This guy does it all.
to provide advice whenever the president would like advice.
I hope so.
I mean, yeah, I expect to remain a friend and an advisor, and certainly if there's anything the president wants me to do, I'm at the president's service.
Mr. Musk, on DOGE, you said that there was $1 trillion promise for cuts from DOGE.
Yes, I think we do expect
getting there.
over time to achieve the $1 trillion.
But what have you found in your time here was the biggest roadblock to getting those cuts? Was it the cabinet, or was it Congress, or something else? What was the biggest roadblock from your work?
It's mostly just a lot of hard work. It's really not any one person or Congress. It's going through really millions of line items and saying just
Yeah,
just
there's
what
so
will make
much
sense,
shit to
what
go
does not
through.
make sense. Obviously, at times when you cut expenses, those who are receiving
These
the money,
guys are
whether
working
they're
like 20 hour
whether they're
days, 7
receiving
days
that
a
money
week.
legitimately or not, they do complain. And you're not going to hear someone confessing that they received money
Yeah, of course
inappropriately. Never. They're going to always say that they received money appropriately for an important cause. Naturally, that's what you'd expect. So we just have to. It's just a lot of work going through the vast expenses of the federal government and just really asking questions. What's this money for? Are you sure it's actually
Going to
used
where it's supposed to go. Like you said with the
many
pandas,
times
they asked for
we
like
can't even
$5.
find anyone
I forget what
who's
country it was.
expensive.
They asked for like a couple $1 million
So
for
a lot of the expenses,
say
the
pandas.
rest actually no
And
tender at all.
Elon and his crew asked them to
And
send
then we have
pictures
to
of
just
these
go through the
pandas.
process
They
of
never
stopping
did.
the-
They never got back to
spending,
him.
where there's often literally
Could have made like an
nobody
AI
knows
picture of a
why the
panda,
money's
just
being
grab one
spent.
off of Google.
It's really
They just
absurd.
never
I
did.
mean, we find situations where there are millions of software licenses
A lot of
with
scams.
0 people using them.
And it's our money.
0. Exactly. This is the quizzical expression. You're like, surely, if there's millions of software licenses, someone should be using them. No, and then
Yeah.
we've got to go through the process of saying, okay, look, if no one's using the software, we can terminate this software license agreement. That's everywhere in the government. by the way.
Yes.
Mr. Musk, what do you think would be easier, colonizing Mars or
No.
making the government efficient?
Oh.
It's a tough call, but I think colonizing Mars and making life multi-planetary is harder. And as I said, we do expect to achieve over time the $1 trillion of savings. We can't do it in like a few months, but
No,
if you say
it'll take years.
by I think the official end of DOGE, which the president may choose to extend, is the middle of next year. Say by the middle of next year, with the support of the president and Congress, could we achieve $1 trillion of savings? I think so. We're on track to do so.
Do you have faith that Congress is going to?
Thank you, Mr. President. You had mentioned earlier in the week that DOGE had become a whipping boy, and as the president mentioned, you went through a lot to go through this process.
Yes.
Was it worth it for you, and what would you change?
Yes, so what we found was happening was that if there were any cuts anywhere, then people would assume that was done by DOGE. And so
A lot of fraud.
we became like essentially the DOGE boogeyman, where if so any cut anywhere would be ascribed to DOGE. A friend of mine's daughter, who's at law school at Georgetown, thought that DOGE had cut the Senate, internships the legal internships for the Senate, and we have nothing to do with that. So if they have been cut, it's not to do with us. Just as an example. So it just became a bit ridiculous where any cut anywhere was somehow
Blamed on DOGE.
and including things that made no sense, and we would agree made no sense. There are many things that occur in the government because it's the banal evil of bureaucracy. It's sort of the frankly largely uncaring nature of bureaucracy. It's as the great Milton Friedman said, money is spent most poorly when it is someone else's money being spent on people you don't know. And that's how federal spending is. And then you can't really even blame the individuals because the way the government works is complaint minimization. So when you do when someone within the government tries to stop money being spent, there's usually someone that complains. And
They don't hear the complaints, so they just give them the money.
manager will say it's not worth the trouble.
Exactly.
Just pay it anyway.
Just give them the money. I don't
That
want to deal
happens
with it.
over and over again.
So was it
I think it was an important thing. I think it was a necessary thing, and I think it will have a good effect in the future.
Thank you, President Trump. This week there was a video on board a plane that showed the First Lady of France slapping her husband, Emmanuel Macron.
Right in the face.
Do you have any
Look.
world leader marital
shit.
advice on
Make sure the door remains closed. That was not good. No, I spoke to him, and he's fine. Too. They're fine. They're two really good people. I know them very well, and I don't know what that was all about, but
No
I
comment.
know them very well, and they're fine.
What do you think about this Democratic Party plan to avoid being swept in every battleground state again by spending $20 million to study how to speak to American men?
Well, you know, they spent 2.8 billion. We spent 1.5. We spent much less. We spent about half of what they spent, and at the end they were $28 million short. They had to be. They spent 2.8 billion. It's a lot, but they couldn't get 28 million at the end, and now they want to spend. I read that they want to spend money to learn how to talk.
$20 million to learn how to speak to men.
You don't want to be fake. You shouldn't have to hire consultants to say what America needs, because then they should be, the consultants should be running the deal, not them. But I read that they want to spend a lot of money in each state. So we won all 7 swing states, 7 out of 7. We won a lot more than that. We won the popular vote. We won everything. And they want to spend money to find out what they did wrong. And I mean, I can tell you what they did wrong. I can tell you every one of their programs, when they say men playing in women's sports, I would say that's not a winner. When they say transgender for everybody, I think that's not a winner. When they say open borders so the entire world population of criminals can pour into our country, I don't think that's a winner. I mean, I just gave them that for free. But I don't know if they'll change their ways. I see them all the time. I see
They went too far
people
left
that I
and it's
know
over
in
for
Congress, Democrats, they're trying to justify some of the things I just said. You can't justify them. I always hear they're 80-20 issues. I say they're not 80-20, they're 97-3. They might be 99-1. They're not 80-20. They wish they were 80-20. And they're wasting a lot of money if they're going to continue with that nonsense.
And this one's a little bit more of a page 6 question, but back when you hosted The Apprentice, you mentioned once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
No.
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it.
And he's not
I think
thinking
some
about
people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, he sort of, that relationship busted up.
Yep.
From what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. It's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So I can't, it's not a popularity contest. So,
No.
I don't know. I would certainly look
the
at
right thing.
the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Mr. President, on the Big Beautiful Bill, would you like to see the Senate build in some support for your tariffs on the Big Beautiful Bill, or should that be a standalone bill?
I have great support on the tariffs. I mean, I was so honored that we got that ridiculous stay lifted, because that would have taken away presidential power. It would have taken away everything that was granted by the founders. It would have been a terrible thing. And it would have, most importantly, would have left us vulnerable. We have a lot of countries that use tariffs on us and use them viciously, actually, viciously. And if we didn't have the power to use tariffs on them, and instantly, not when you go back to Congress and try and get hundreds of people to agree on something, that would take months to get just one simple proclamation. If we didn't have the power to counteract their powers, you wouldn't have a country left. We have to act fast. We have to be fast and nimble, as they say. And that was a really great moment, I think, yesterday when that stay was lifted. And hopefully now we'll go to court and just win that battle. Because if we don't have the power to do what they're doing to us, we are going to be a great nation no longer.
Elon Musk was once idolized by folks on the left in this country before joining your administration. Now he's considered a hero by conservatives. Why do you think this man and what he's done in American life has been so politicized? Does it
Well, his life has been amazing. I mean, I look at so many different things. I look at that rocket
they search with him right
being,
away.
Guided
It's
back
automatically
into
considered
position.
evil.
I've never seen that before. I thought it was a space movie. I thought it was a movie. You look at what he's done in terms of communication. It's been unbelievable. So many different, even tunnels going underground, not having to go through all the process of going. He's got a company that does.
Dude literally came in to help save American taxpayers' money.
Starlink,
People
as an
hate him
example.
for it.
He saved a lot of lives, probably
crazy.
hundreds of lives in North Carolina. I don't even know if you remember, but I called you. They needed Starlink in North Carolina, and I didn't know what the hell Starlink was.
And he got there right away.
Who owns it? He said, "Do you know Elon Musk?" I said, "Yeah, I happen to know the gentleman." This was before his government stay. And they said, we really need it because North Carolina became an island. It was, people had no communication. They had no access to anything. And they
Before we get off the phone with them, they were already there.
I called up Elon, and you can't get it because it's so successful. It's very hard to get. And he had so much of it brought over there, and they told me it was unbelievable. It saved a lot of lives. So, he's just done a lot of things. I don't think he gets credit for what he's done. But he's a very good person, too. You know what? If he wasn't a good person, but he did the same things, I'd probably maybe speak differently. He happens to be a really good person who loves the country.
Yep.
On the one big, beautiful bill, you had indicated this week that there were some things you didn't like about what had passed in the House. What changes do you want to see the Senate make? And you had also indicated there were things you didn't like about the bill. What would you be suggesting he push senators to change in their version?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll go first. It's an unbelievable bill. It cuts your deficits. It cuts, it's a huge cutting.
Yes.
But there's the things I'd like to see maybe cut a little bit more. I'd like to see a bigger cut in taxes. It's going to be the largest tax decrease or cut in the history of our country.
Good.
I'd like to see it get down to an even lower number. I was shooting for a slightly lower number. I would have liked to have done that. But with all of that being said, when you look at the tax cut and the fact that the original tax cut, which made us so successful, we had the most successful 4 years in the history of our country, the economy, and this is going to be even better. And you see that by the reports that came out just yesterday or tonight. I guess they were released this morning at 8 o'clock. You see the kind of numbers where somebody that's a pro is like, whoa, I haven't seen numbers like this since I've been doing this. These are human emotions of professionals that have never seen numbers like, and we've just started. The bill is a great bill. It's going to be jiggered around a little bit. It's going to be negotiated with the Senate, with the House. But the end result is it extends the Trump tax cuts. If it doesn't get approved, you'll have a 68% tax increase. You're going to go up 68%. That's a number that nobody's ever heard of before. You'll have a massive tax increase. If it does get approved, you'll have a large tax cut, the largest we've ever had. When you add the past tax cuts that we got you, the Trump tax, they call them the Trump tax cuts. It's an amazing bill. It does amazing things. With all of that, it's going to be adjusted a little bit over the next coming weeks, and I think it's going to be passed. The Republicans want to pass it. With all of the great things it does, including an extension of debt, it's the extension. We have to extend the debt. If we don't extend debt, we're in default. Now, the Democrats might like our country to be in default, but in 250 years, we've never been in default.
$37
was handed
trillion
to them
in debt.
by a very well-meaning man.
Interest on the debt is more than we
gave it
spend
to
on our
them
defense
because he
budget,
thought it was the
which
right
is
thing to do.
$850 billion.
It could have been their problem before the election, but this man thought it was the right thing to do, and he was well-meaning. I don't hold anything against him for that, but that was put on our plate when it should have been on the Democrats. September 28th, a famous date. It should have been taken care of by the Democrats, but this person, a man of power, gave it to us so that in June that comes due. Well, we have to take care of that because if we don't take care of it, we have a country in default, and we don't ever want to have a country in default. You know, I'll tell you, a certain senator, Elizabeth Warren,
Pocahontas,
that she would never ever allow a default on our debt. She would never let it happen, and she would like to get rid of the debt ceiling, what's called the debt ceiling. I call it the debt extension because we really need an extension. That she'd like to see that gotten rid of, and there are many people that agree. Many Democrats agree with that, but we gave that through, and you know, I don't want to say an error. He did it well-meaning. They gave that to us. It was a Democrat problem just before the election. Would have had a huge impact on the election, and to our benefit. We won anyway, but to our benefit. But felt that really for the good of the country, we should extend that. But Elizabeth Warren and various other people would like to see that. Her whole career, she wanted to see it terminated, gotten rid of, not being voted on every 5 years or 10 years. And the reason was because it's so catastrophic for our country. And I always agreed with her. That was one thing I agreed with her on. Now, I haven't spoken to her, but I would say that if you asked her that question now, she'd say, no, it's their problem.
Yeah.
But it's a very unfortunate situation. It's a very unfair situation. And she happened to be right on that. It should be gotten rid of, or it should simply be extended. But that's one of the things that gets taken care of in this bill. That automatically gets extended for a 4-year period, and it should be. But I agree with Elizabeth Warren on that. I think you should get rid of it. It's too catastrophic.
Yep.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
What message do you like to send to international students? Are they still welcomed to study in the United States? And one question for Mr. Musk.
To students? Well, we want to have great students here. We just don't want students that are causing trouble. We want to have students. I want to have foreign students. I think Harvard, you know, it's close to 31%. That's a lot. Our country's given $5 billion plus to Harvard over a short period of time. Nobody knew that. We found that out. I wouldn't say that was a DOGE thing, but we found that out over a period of time. That was sort of a Trump thing.
Shit.
We ended up in litigation for other reasons because they're very anti-Semitic. And in finding out and in going through the books, we found out that the country gave them $5 billion plus, much more than that actually. And we're having it out with them, and let's see what happens. I think we have a very good, well, it's a very sad case. It's a case we win. We can't lose that case because we have the right to make grants. We're not going to make any grants like that. But I don't think Harvard's been acting very nicely. I think Columbia wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted very well. And there are other institutions, too, that are acting, but Harvard's trying to be a big shot. And all that happens is and
they're going to lose.
3 days we find another $100 million that was given. 2 days ago we found $200 million.
They actually said he might take all that money and give them to trade schools throughout the country, which is a brilliant idea.
I'd like to see the money go to trade schools.
There you go, sir.
Where people learn how to fix motors and engines, where people learn how to build rocket ships. Because, you know, somebody has to build those rocket ships. Yeah. And I'd like to see trade schools set up, because you could take $5 billion plus hundreds of billions more, which is what's spent.
That's what we need in this country.
And you can have the greatest trade school system anywhere in the world.
You need people that actually make stuff and build stuff, not go around campuses screaming "Free Palestine"
and to build lots of other
committing acts of terror.
And you know, I went to school with people. In some cases, they weren't good students, but they could fix the engine of a car better than anybody I've ever seen. They could take it apart blindfolded. They had an ability at that, and they did very well. They made a lot of money. You know, it's a very skilled job. It's great. But I'd like to see a lot of money going into trade schools. I've always felt that. And we probably found our pot of gold, and that's what's been wasted at places like Harvard. And the money's been wasted. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask quickly, Mr. Musk, is your eye okay? What happened to your eye? I noticed there's a bruise there.
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near France. So, but
what does that mean?
No,
I didn't notice his eye.
First lady of France.
Slapped,
I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, I was just horsing around with little X, and I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did. Turns out, even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually does.
That was X that did.
Yeah,
X could do it. If you knew X,
I saw his mom right now. But I didn't really feel much at the time, and then I guess it bruises up. But I was just horsing around with the kids.
I didn't notice it actually.
President Trump, I got one. I know that you try to stay pretty neutral because not your war, but
By the way, Not my war. I just want to solve the problem for people. This was not a war that was going to happen if I were president.
Right, and so, not your war, but as you try to fix it, and as you survey this hellscape of the Ukrainian front lines,
it's horrible.
And you and your team deal with a very stubborn Vladimir Putin. Do you
and Zelensky.
Yeah. But do you look at this
very
conflict?
Zelensky too.
Both sides are acting like jerk
now?
offs.
Like, do you look at this and see Putin as the good guy or the bad guy?
So I've
Just
known
want the
him
war
very
to
well,
stop.
and I went through a lot of things with him.
Innocent people are
because,
dying for no reason.
Russia was,
Stupid.
the Russia hoax turned out to be a total hoax. New York Times, they got a Pulitzer Prize. They have to give back the Pulitzer Prize. That's my lawsuit, and they're doing very poorly in that lawsuit. But they wrote stories about how it was true and it was false, and a lot of Washington Post also. I have gotten to see things that I was very surprised at. Rockets being shot into cities like Kiev during a negotiation that I felt was maybe very close to ending. We were going to solve a problem, and then all of a sudden rockets got shot into a couple of cities and people died. I saw things that I was surprised at. So, and I don't like being surprised. So I'm very disappointed in that way. With that being said, I'd like to see it end. 5,000 people, I think the numbers are even more than that, but 5,000 people a week are being killed. Mostly soldiers, but also people that live in little cities and towns throughout Ukraine.
Yep.
And I'd like to see that stop.
And I asked Caroline this yesterday, but I want to ask you directly. So many of the things that you're trying to do are held up in court right now.
Yep,
If the
radical left
courts
judges
are going to have so much influence over U.S. policy, do you wish you would have just become a judge instead?
Yeah, well, look, it wasn't meant to be that way. If you look at the founders, the president had certain powers, and you have your three groups, and they all had supposed to be pretty equal powers. But you can't have a judge in Boston running foreign policy in places all over the country because he's got a liberal bent or he's a radical left person. That's what the executive branch is for, and you have checks and balances.
There's actually a judge in
but we had millions
Missouri,
of people
I think it is, at the local.
Many criminals.
She actually helped
poured
an
into our
illegal
country. Murderers,
escape through like a back door during
mental
his trial.
institutions from all over the world being
She's in hot
emptied out
water,
into our
and I
country.
think they arrested two of her
And if we
harboring
don't get them out and get
illegals
them
who
out
were in
quickly,
gangs.
we're could lose your country very easily. This is a bad that anybody would allow this to happen to our country. With all of the things, we took over inflation, we took over some wars, we took over a lot of problems that didn't exist when I was president. None of it existed. We wiped out ISIS. Other than that, we had no wars. Putin was never going to hit Ukraine. Israel would have never been attacked. That attack, as you know, Iran had no money. They didn't have money for Hamas.
They got a lot from this administration, the last administration.
They had no money whatsoever. That wasn't going to happen. All of these things that happened weren't going to happen. You wouldn't have had inflation.
I think the Biden administration gave him like 1.2 billion
so it's very sad
in frozen
when I came
assets
back.
and
But
money
the thing that
to Iran
is the hardest is that they allowed 21 million people into our country, and many of those people
unchecked, just walked right in.
Are stone cold criminals. They moved their criminal population into the United States, and of all the things that
it's fucking crazy.
Are bad. I solved inflation, I believe, already. I got the fuel prices down. The fuel prices came down. That's one of the reasons they screwed up the energy. They screwed up the cost of gasoline and oil.
They literally came into office and just reversed anything and everything he did.
Inflation. The greatest
Didn't even
inflation
think about it,
probably in
just
the
did
history
it.
of our country under Biden.
Fucking idiots.
And when people said, "Oh, but the economy was the economy was terrible for the people because they couldn't afford the energy, and the energy brought everything else up. Energy is the big deal." But with all of that, we solved that already. In 4 months, we solved it. $1.99, $1.98 gasoline. First time people have seen that in a long time since my term. But the hardest thing to solve is millions of people pouring into our country, many of whom are criminals. Because remember, these countries
off
are
the
smart.
government.
Their leaders are very
getting
street
welfare,
smart.
food stamps,
They're sending the people that they don't
medical.
want. They don't want the
And
people
you and I are
that are
paying for
there,
it.
that are law-abiding, that are productive, that are working hard. They want
And I
people
think they
that
also
are
in California
in
did
jails.
free
We
sex
have
change
them.
operations
They allow them to come
that
in.
you and I are paying
And
for.
I always look to the other side, like, why would somebody do something? In business, I try and study, why would they want to do this? Why would they want to sell it? Why would they want to buy it? one thing I can't figure out is what would an administration, what were they thinking when they allowed millions of people from prisons all over the world, not just from South America, Venezuela, all over the world,
Hoping
from
to
the
get
Congo,
voters.
in Africa, hundreds of people, thousands of people from the Congo, rough prisoners, from Asia, from Europe, rough parts of Europe. Why would they allow them to come into our country? Why would
Trying to
they
get
do that?
voters any way
It's the one
possible.
thing I
They know they
can't
couldn't
figure
win
out.
a fair election.
And I don't believe it was Joe Biden. I really don't. I mean, look, he's been a sort of a
I don't think it
moderate
was either.
person over his lifetime. Not a smart person, but a somewhat vicious person, I will say. If you feel sorry for him, don't feel so sorry because he's vicious. What he did with his political opponent and all of the people that he hurt a lot of people, Biden. And so I really don't feel sorry for him. But he wasn't a person that would allow murderers to come into our country. He wasn't a person that was in favor of
he wouldn't have
transgender
done
for
that.
anybody that
No.
wanted it, take kids out of families, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand why a thing like this, how a thing like this could have been allowed to happen. Very sad. It's very sad for our country.
If I could add something to
Go
that,
ahead.
which is, I think the fundamental moral flaw of the left is empathy for the criminals and
Yeah.
not empathy for the victims. Empathy for
No,
the
you can
criminals,
see how I lucked
but
on
not
there.
empathy for the victims. And there's been way too much of that. That needs to stop. To the president's point, there's been immense judicial overreach that is unconstitutional. That was never intended. And it's undermining the people's faith in the legal system. It needs to stop. It's gone too far.
Who was it? The governor, the mayor of
Just
Maryland flew
yesterday,
to El
we
Salvador to
had
meet with an
just a
MS-13
couple
member,
hours ago, we had a great
and he flew on
decision
your
from
dime
the
and my
Supreme
dime.
Court, thank goodness. That was very important. We had two important decisions yesterday on the tariffs because, again, we have to be able to fight a fair fight with other countries. Howard, would you say? We have to be able to use tariffs to fight people that use tariffs on us. I mean, if we
Yes.
didn't have that power of tariffs, we would economically be destroyed as a country because they will destroy us. Other countries will destroy us with unchecked tariffs. We can check them when we have the use. They tried to take that power away from us. And if you take that power away, we're not going to have a country. We won't have an economically viable country. But it's very important on immigration that we be able to get people out without having to go through a long court case. I mean, it was up to some of these judges. Every single one of these millions of people, criminals, prisoners that were let go from jails because they save a
Just
fortune when
brought them all here.
They brought them into the United States. You know what they're saving? The money they're saving?
Yeah.
But some of murders, it's very important that we're able to get those people out of here fast, bring them back to their country where they belong. And those countries take them, because if they don't take them, they have to go through the wrath of the United States, and they take them. But we have judges that don't want that to happen, and it's a terrible thing. That's going through the court system right now, that whole situation. But when ICE and with Border Patrol, they've done an incredible job. When they do this incredible job,
Yeah, they have.
and they capture 100 killers and drug dealers, and we can't keep them for years here as we go through trials.
No.
We have to get them out rapidly, and we know who they are. And we're very careful
due
about
process
who they
is
are. But
us
we have
saying
to
you're
get
not
them out
getting
rapidly,
a
or again, we're not going to have
trial,
a
you're
country.
going out of the country.
Maybe one or two more. Go ahead.
Are you concerned that tariff may also affect companies like Tesla, which has parts
No.
manufactured abroad? And this is also to you, Mr. Musk.
Well, he's going to end up building his whole car here. I mean, I thought he built his whole car. Pretty much he does. He's got incredible factories, and like I looked at one in Texas. It's unbelievable. No,
Starbase.
All of the manufacturers
His own
will build
city
their
in
parts
Texas
here
called
too.
Starbase.
I mean, it used
Crazy.
to bother me. They make a part in Canada, a part in Mexico, a part in Europe, and it's sent all over the place, and nobody knew what the hell was happening. I think it's ridiculous. You build a car, make it in America, and I gave them a little leeway on that, gave them some leeway.
You did.
But over the next year, they've got to have the whole thing built.
If you buy a car built in America, you
We
want
want Americans to buy American-built cars. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys.
How was your meeting with Jerome Powell?
Thanks,
guys.
Good meeting. It was a good meeting.
Are you considering
Thanks, guys.
targeting
Keep going,
George
keep
Canada?
going, keep going. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's go straight out here. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
You are watching RSBN Live in Washington, D.C., now looking 245 miles to the west in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania
That's
for
tonight.
Rally Day in
I'm going to stream that
America.
too.
RSBN host Megan Kohler will join us there live
I think it
shortly.
starts at 5:30,
really
so I'll probably
looking
go
forward
live
to
around
hearing from we the people outside of that venue, and also we'll be live right there
probably,
inside
if you
as
want to come by
President
and check it
Trump
out.
will now board Air Force One at Joint Base
Busy
Andrews,
man.
fly that 245 miles
That should be
to
nice to
Pittsburgh,
watch.
specifically West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, for this great speech at U.S. Steel. This all brought to you by
And in my
a number
home
of great
state as well.
sponsors, including Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN.
All right, guys.
It's all
Great video.
about
I'll be
gold
back
and silver
later.
as a backup
Have a great
plan for your
Friday.
tax
I'll see you
sheltered
tonight.
IRA, 401k,
I might
all